Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And we got a crazy one for y'all today. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video, sub to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. My handle is CTABANZ. So, y'all know the NBA season is about to be kicking off in about a month or so. They're going to be starting the season a little bit earlier this year, right? Training camp, media day, all of that will be starting not too long from now. And, with every season, there are going to be storylines and things are going to happen and what we can look forward to and all of that. But things are going to be distinctively different this season. Why? Because you guys know the NBA just recently inked a new deal worth $77 billion, I think, over the next 10 or 11 years. With various streaming platforms, networks like ESPN, Amazon, etc. And essentially what these new contracts mean is that now for you to be able to watch these games, you have to be subscribed to a plethora of platforms. Now, me currently being outside the States, I usually watch all the games on League Pass. I think I pay like $120 per season, but we're going to see how that's going to work out this season. But anyway, people have been complaining about this, right? Because they're like, how do you expect NBA fans to sign up to all of these different platforms just to watch your games? Because the NBA is portioning off some of its key games on these various platforms. So people were talking about it. People were complaining about it. So yesterday, Adam Silver held a press conference where he spoke about the issues surrounding the Clippers and all of that. He essentially said it was the burden of proof was on the NBA to prove that these guys were doing something wrong. He spoke about some other things. But then a reporter asked him about fans not being able to gain access to some of these games, right? And them essentially just locking out a lot of people that don't have the disposable income to pay for all of these various platforms. And let me tell you something. Adam Silver's response was mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So for those of you who didn't hear what the commissioner had to say, I want to play his comments for you now, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Take a listen to what Adam Silver had to say there.
There's a huge amount of our content that people can essentially consume for free. I mean, this is very much a highlights-based sport, so, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, any service, the New York Times for that matter, to the extent that your content is not behind a paid firewall. There's an enormous amount of content out there. YouTube, by another example, that is advertising-based that consumers can consume.
So you heard what he said. He said that for those people that are complaining about the fact that they're not going to be able to see any games, there are a lot of highlights out there. Go on TikTok, go on YouTube, go on Instagram, and go to wherever else you may see highlights, and that's where you can get your highlights. That there's so much content out there. I thought that was crazy. Like, that was a crazy thing to say. It was just a crazy thing to say. And I'm not the only one that think this is an issue. Even Charles Barkley last week, when he was on The Ringer talking to Bill Simmons brought up this very issue. And Charles Barkley said then that he believes the NBA is making a mistake by doing this. Take a listen to Charles Barkley here.
I think the NBA's got a big problem. How are regular fans gonna okay, it's Tuesday, especially when they start putting games
where do I go?
Well, because, sometimes the game's going to be on Peacock. And, it's not going to be on NBC. I think that's a huge dilemma for the NBA.
Guess what? They don't care.
I
agree. They got so much
money.
They're going to wipe their tears with cash.
Bill, I'm so glad you said that. I think it's a big deal because they just took all the money from all three networks. I don't think they give a about the fans. And I think this is going to come back to bite them, to be honest with you. And then the thing that's scary, this deal is for 11 years.
Right.
So now people complain all they want to. For the next 11 years, they don't give a about the fans. They're like, if y'all find the games, fine. Just make sure the check clears.
So you heard what Barkley said. Do you know who else said that this is an issue? Mark Cuban. We recently did a show where we were reacting to some comments that Cuban made. He believes that they're making a mistake. So the commissioner is saying, if you feel left out, If you feel you can't gain access to these games, just go watch the highlights. Let me tell y'all something. That's crazy. Now, let me tell you guys how I interact with highlights. For games that I don't watch, I usually watch the highlights on YouTube. But I'm not somebody that watches those 12-minute highlights where they're giving you essentially play-by-play every bucket that took place in a game from beginning to end. I don't have time for that. I don't watch those highlights. The highlights I usually watch are from Motion Station. Motion Station is a channel, they must be owned by the NBA, where they put together these 2.5 minute highlights that has a storyline that kind of tells you what happened, what a so-and-so player did, whereas those other clips, they just basically cut and play-by-play clips together. And those clips are quicker because it gives me a quick summary of what happened in the game. So I usually watch those clips instead. Instagram Reels, you're not watching it for highlights. You're watching it. I mean, Instagram, you're not watching it for highlights. You're watching it for specific plays, like of a dunk or a crossover. That's really what Instagram is for. You're not going there to watch full-blown highlights the way the commissioner's talking about it. So that's how I consume content. Obviously, other people like the longer form content. They watch that as well. But here's the problem with highlights. And Too Raw for TV brought this up this afternoon, which was they don't tell you the actual story. You can watch highlights and it doesn't give you the full picture of what happened in a game. It doesn't. And highlights can tell you any story you want to see. You could have a player that played like ass the entire game and show like 3 highlights of him and you think this guy was the biggest deal. Like, highlights don't really capture it all and they don't really tell the story. But the commissioner is essentially saying, if you can't make it, you're priced out. You're priced out. And they are banking on these platforms, the fact that people are going to be signing up. That's where they're aiming to get their money. And it really indicates how the world is changing. All right. This isn't the world that we used to know. Things are changing. Life is becoming more expensive with every passing day. And very soon, these things that used to be kind of just standard things in our lives are going to just end up being luxuries. Now, watching an NBA game is going to become a luxury in the future. That's essentially what is happening. I'm sure the NBA has crunched their numbers. They've hedged their bets. Now, I assume they understand who their customer base is going to be and the people are going to be paying this amount of money to watch these games across these platforms. We'll sign up, but I'm not paying out of my pocket. We'll cut it as an expense to what we're doing, and I'll just mark it off that way. Right? But to be signed up to all of these things, and people have bills to pay, other stuff to pay, internet to pay, all of this is light, gas, and all that, and you expect them to just be shelling out all of this extra money just to watch NBA games. It sounds a little bit unfair, right? It sounds a little bit unfair to a customer base that has been there for decades. My thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments. We catch you on the next show. Peace.